Hello, everyone! You have entered the battle phase. It is I, the Midnight Bard, your favorite bard, and I see dead people. Joining me, as always, is one of the boys, Sacro, who spent a lot of money on sacred talismans.
Too many. They kept breaking.
Welcome to the Battle Face podcast. This is the podcast where Sacro and I and our friends discuss anime, manga. We watch it, read it, discuss it. It's a fun time, and today we have a very special treat because we're discussing the first manga that was submitted to us by a listener, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
We've got a huge list at this point, but...
Yeah, we have a huge list at this point, but we had to start somewhere, and I figured, the first person that reached out to me, Super Morganite, this is for you. I promised you I would get to you. So today we're discussing Mieruko-Chan, which is a manga. Do you have the wiki up?
I do have the wiki up.
Who's the author?
The author is Tomoki Izumi.
Yep. So today we're discussing Mieruko-Chan by Tomoki Izumi. We read the first 10 chapters of the manga, which is actually one volume plus a chapter. I actually, this was a 9-chapter first volume. Let's see. The name Mieruko-Chan, as it says on Wikipedia, roughly translates to the girl who can see them.
I mean, that's such an on-the-nose name. What?
It is such an on-the-nose name, right? Like, I always thought that was just her name. I expected that her name was Mieruko, but
No.
I guess not. Her name is actually Miko Yotsuya. So a little bit of a recap for what this manga is about is it's a horror comedy. We meet our main character Miko Yotsuya literally in the first page of the first chapter, and there's a ghost hanging out around her, and in a panicked state, what she does is, instead of running away or just reacting how you normally would react if you saw something really grotesque and terrifying, she pretends she didn't see it. And when she pretends she didn't see it, it turns out that it just loses interest. And so this is a story of her basically going around seeing ghosts, seeing spirits, and just trying her best to not react at all, which it's funny because the rest of the world can't see what she sees, and she is having a mini panic attack at all times of the day and trying to play it off as if nothing's wrong. It's super great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the designs of the monsters. They're
the
cool.
designs of the monsters.
The artist,
Yeah.
great at drawing monsters. Like, you know what? Stop drawing humans. Draw monsters only.
The artist for this is also the author, which is Tomoki Izumi. So really cool. So apparently this actually didn't debut as a manga proper, but actually it debuted on Kadokawa's Comic Walker website in 2018.
I thought it showed up on Twitter first.
Did it show up on Twitter first?
It might not have showed up on Twitter first, but the first couple chapters were on Twitter where it got interest.
Yeah, but it's actually pretty good. So I guess let's just jump right into it. You and I come from a horror background in content creation.
True.
I was a horror narrator. You're still a horror narrator and things. So tell me, like, I kind of feel like, how to put this? Like, we talked about Dandadan and how it was about the supernatural, and you kind of like didn't like it because instead of being straight up supernatural, it kind of devolved into kind of like a shonen battle, so to speak.
It was shonen with horror elements, which usually is fine, but it didn't lean enough into the horror stuff for me.
Right.
Maybe it did later
now,
on.
This
I don't
one,
know.
Yeah, well, sometimes it depends. Dandadan's weird. Anyway, this is straight up horror with a twist of comedy. So I'm actually interested to hear what you thought about it.
So I guess I'll start from the beginning. First of all, for horror content, I like everything to be scary except for I'm not a fan of horror manga for some reason. They don't stick with me nearly as well. I enjoy them occasionally. But I've had more bad horror manga than good horror manga, if that makes sense. I've read through where I'm like, wow, this is scary. Oh, no, it's not actually. And then I just end up devolving. It's like my least favorite anime of all time was a horror anime. It's called
Was it Ghost Stories?
no, that's great. It's called Shiki.
Ghost Stories is legendary. Oh man, I've heard of Shiki. I've never seen it.
It's a vampire story, and it started off fine.
Oh wait, I've heard of Shiki. I've seen it. Like that's the one that has like the really intense violence scenes, right?
Near the end, yeah, they start murdering all the vampires.
Right.
It's a weird story because in the beginning, it's all about the vampires trying to. So they try to make people into vampires because they want to add to their
Mm,
family, right? And so
right.
when one family member turns into a vampire, they show up every night at the window of the other ones because they have to be let in to make another person into a vampire. So there's like this lady who's like constantly showing up because she has like 5 people in her household, and each time she tries to make one into a vampire, they just die. But she keeps trying anyways until there's
Mm,
only one left. Whole side story about her, but it's stupid because at the end of the day, it goes from oh yeah, these vampires are evil, they're killing this whole town to they just want to live, they just want to survive, they're like everything else. Like no, that's not what's happening. They just murdered an entire town. Why should I feel bad about them being killed at the end?
right.
It's like the main girl, the main love interest, the main guy turns into a vampire later in the story, and she
Mm.
gets run over by a tractor, and it's so
I
funny.
remember that. I remember that scene specifically.
It's
That one
so
showed up
funny
on
to
like
me.
my YouTube or like my Instagram algorithm or something, and I saw it. I was like, "Wow, that is, oh boy."
But they were like
So,
killing people. They're the bad guys. Why are you trying to make them into the good guys at the end? And it's just dumb. The main guy
right.
gets turned into a very special vampire and then kills
Mm,
himself. Because the special vampires are ones that can go out during the day, and only certain people get turned
mm.
into them, so they can like live as basically the. This is way off topic, but they can live as like basically they're humans, and they act as the anchor between the human world and the vampire world by being able to live in
Okay,
both. They can eat food and
I
everything
see.
too to live.
Okay,
He becomes one of those. I mean, he's also more powerful.
right.
Uh, but he got turned into a vampire because his love interest was like, I need this man who I've been attracted to for who knows how long because they're in high school because they're always
Mm.
high schoolers.
Yeah, it's always high schoolers. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, aside, leaving all that aside,
So
uh,
tell me what you think of Mieruko-Chan.
so Mieruko-Chan is the first chapter. I liked the designs of the monsters. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is interesting, unique. I like that she ignores them. I was expecting like more comedy with that because I didn't really laugh at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't like, oh, that's funny. I was more like, that's a funny situation
Right.
that she keeps ignoring. That's a funny situation. But then like
Mm.
by the time I got to chapter 10, I'm like, that's still a funny situation, but I'm still not laughing at this. Like the only time I laughed was the cat scene
Oh, the
where
cat scene where they're like trying to either choose to give it to the nice clean cut guy or like the obvious gangster.
yeah, and she could see that the guy's surrounded by like demon cats, probably thinks he's murdered because maybe he's murdering cats. Or
Hmm.
the guy who is surrounded by like white angel cats, and she's like, "That's the guy. Let's go with that guy."
Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
was I have things to tell you, dude, and it's anyway, carry on.
uh, I mean, I've only read the 10 chapters plus the bonus chapters that were
Mm,
sprinkled throughout the first 10. Actually, I think I read to it chapter 11. I was reading
right.
because I read it last night. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So I kept going. There are some aspects I did not like, but let's get into characters first. So I really like Miko. She's cool.
Mm,
The
yeah.
brother gave me quick warnings of what something I would probably not like,
Yeah, I was
and it
like, her
does turn into
brother has
that
like some red flags, dude. Like, I'm like, dude, what? But
manga,
it's
dude. What's wrong
uh,
with Japan and sibling relationships between opposite gender children?
uh,
Why do they
it's
have
like
to be that way?
I don't know, like because I've been watching Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a character who is exactly that again. And I see the memes, where people are like, "Oh yeah, when the main girl was so strong that the author had to nerf her by giving her a familial relationship to the MC." I'm like, this is not okay.
What? Wait, she's related to the MC,
Who?
the girl in that show you're
Uh,
talking about?
no. But there's a sister
Oh,
character that people like better, and she
oh.
is, and like she mirrors, I think, what the audience wants because she's like, oh my gosh, this type of manga is hotter when they're related, and it's like, bro. So
Yeah. I feel like a lot of this is
you
gonna.
remember that episode of Supernatural
Yeah,
where Sam and
I
Dean
do.
found out that they were characters in a book, and like Sam starts telling Dean about the shipping
Yeah,
scenarios,
he's
and he's
like
like.
Sam/Dean. He's like, what's that mean?
And he's like Sam slash Dean, and he's like, they do realize we're brothers, and Sam's like, that doesn't seem to matter. And I'm like,
I
God
think they
damn
like
it.
it that way.
I honestly think they do. I was like, this is so funny because it's such a real thing. I'm like, oh my God.
And then later on, when they go to the convention for their book that they're in, they meet the gay couple who's cosplaying Sam and Dean, and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, so there was a weird brothers situation, and I'm like, no, don't do this. Apparently, it's worse in the anime because they have to extend certain scenes, so it's worse. In the manga, it's kind of like a quick scene where you're like, that's gross, but whatever. Next scene. Okay, I'm making it sound way worse than it is. They do the traditional "let me wash your bath" scene that Japan does. So like,
they do, yeah.
Still gross, but it's their culture. I'm not gonna judge if that's a real. I don't think it's a real thing actually.
Right. But yeah. Anyway, we've gotten like such a tangent about this.
I just hate it, and they keep doing it, and they did it. They ruined so many stories by adding the brother sister thing. I know people like it, but I'm pretty sure because a lot of manga, and I'm gonna make a bunch of people mad, but a lot of like manga and anime people are just degenerates when it comes to this stuff with zero social skills. And that sucks because I have I don't have a lot of social skills, but I have social skills, and I'm opposite degeneracy.
That was about to be the weirdest flex. It's like, I have a lot of social skills.
I have enough to get around. It's kind of like when you walked over to that guy and started talking to him at the second anime, and he's just like, yeah. And it's like,
yeah, because firstly, for the fans listening, Sack Anime was fun. Secondly, let's see, I'm cosplaying Brock from Pokemon, and I see a guy clearly cosplaying Ash from Pokemon, so I figure this will be a funny interaction if I go up and talk to him in character. And the guy was so clueless as to what was happening, like so clueless, and I was like, oh, I just made this very awkward for both of us.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. I don't know what it is, but people who generally watch anime or play too many video games just don't understand really how to interact with each other, which is why conventions are like all over the place. They can either be the most fun or like awkward.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And me personally, look, I'm gonna have a hot take. I don't think that this guy was an anime fan. I think he was a normie that got dragged there by his friends,
and
dressed as Ash because it was a thing, right? So
it was Gen 1 Ash though. Like, why are you Gen 1 Ash and not know who Brock is?
I know, right? So I was just like, as soon as that I realized that this situation was going south, I was like, I gotta get out of here. I was like, I just like, this guy's probably a normie. He came here because his friends dragged him, and now somebody's talking to him like he knows him. He's like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that makes two of us, bro. I'm just gonna walk away.
Yeah, good seeing you, and then you walk away.
Yeah, it's exactly what I did. I was like, good seeing you, Ash. Bye.
Yeah, I had people stop me at Sasuke to talk about my character, and that was cool, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, sometimes it's really cool whenever you're cosplaying and somebody knows your characters, or that they talk to you about the show that you obviously watched together, right? Yeah. And I like that. I think that's cool. But yeah, like every now and then, like there's people who are in cosplay that are not down with this, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like I don't know. I've had it in conventions before where somebody was like, I don't know, say dressed as someone from One Piece, and I was like, oh hey, it's really fun, Buggy the pirate. They made you one of the emperors of the sea, and the person would be like, yeah, that's cool, isn't it? Yeah, Buggy the pirate, emperor of the sea. And then there's other people who you'll go up to, I was like, hey, Luffy, like yeah, eat any good meals lately? Luffy famous for eating, and he's like, I don't know who you are, bro. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So you never know,
I mean, okay, so general rule of thumb, if they're playing a character who's the main character or something general that most people will know, they probably have no idea what's happening. They're just picking the most generic main thing they can pick. So
I think you're probably
Ash
right
Ketchum,
about that.
General Pokemon characters, Luffy, Goku, Naruto, any of the Akatsukis, specifically though, Itachi.
The Akatsukis, I believe, the people who play Goku, they are Dragon Ball Z fans are a specific breed, bro. Like they are 100% hyped for the.
Yeah, they're hyped for Dragon Ball Z, but they won't know anything else, probably.
Probably not.
Sometimes they will, but usually not. But no, never talk to Pokemon people. They won't know.
Anyway, Mieruko-Chan.
Anyways, Mieruko-Chan. Yeah, so weird scene with the brother aside.
Right.
Hannah's fine. I didn't like the scene with the ghost groping her, which is kind of gross because you have to sexualize teenage girls repeatedly. That's just the rule of anime.
Uh,
I guess we
I
can talk.
always try to look. I always try to look at it from like from the lens of like this is obviously wrong and it should make you feel gross because you don't
But it's
want to
done in a
sympathize.
comedic way.
In this particular title, yes, but like like I don't know, man. I like to
Like,
like err on the side of like they intended this to make the audience understand that this is not a good thing,
well,
you
sometimes
know.
that you can do that, but you're doing it in a way that is fan servicey. If you're doing it in a way to
Hmm.
show how bad it is, yeah. But if you're doing it in a way that's specifically fan servicey, then it's like, yeah, you're just part of the problem. It's like, oh, we're not going to violence is bad, and then shows every violent act you can on screen to show that violence is bad. Like,
Violence is bad unless it's really cool.
yeah, basically. So there's that scene. And there's the teacher that shows up for like half a second, and then her perfume somehow gets rid of the demon creature, which is kind of funny.
Hmm.
The ending of that was kind of funny how it wouldn't mess with her because she's, flat as a board or whatever. But I'm also like,
Right.
please stop making this joke. I see it too often now. We talked about it in the last episode. And I'm like, no, no. Uh,
Right.
but the over sexualization of the characters is insane in this series in the very beginning. I heard it tones down later on, but in the beginning, holy, there's like a billion upskirts, tight clothes, boobs out on display every chance they get, in just super provocative ways. And it's a bit much for me. Just me specifically. I don't know if other people are into it. I'm sure people are into it. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's all
it
I got
sells.
for that.
It sells for a reason.
The story, the initial chapters don't really have a story to them per se. They just kind of meander
It's
around
a
and do
little
stuff.
slice of life, right?
Yeah, it's a slice of life horror comedy, which I wish they did a little more with. Maybe they do later on. Maybe I should continue it. Final thoughts for me, I guess, on before I hand it back over to you is I just really like the monster designs, and the main character's fine. She looks cool. I like her yellow eyes.
So I have thoughts on this because firstly, I started reading the manga and I was like, this feels like it's kind of dragging.
Mm-hmm.
Like like I can kind of appreciate it for what it is. It's a slice of life with horror and comedy in it, right? And I'm like, the thing is, it feels almost like it's so quick. Like the chapters are so fast that like nothing that happens within the chapter kind of has any weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was thinking as I was reading it. Now, here's what ends up happening. I was checking out like some people talking about it on Reddit, and there were people who said, this manga is excellent. I don't like the anime because the anime is so fan servicey." And I was like, "The anime is fan servicey? Were we reading the same manga?"
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was thinking too.
so I what I did is I went and I binged the anime last night because it's only 12 episodes. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing is, dude, I honestly think that the anime fixes every issue that I had with the manga.
Oh,
Like,
really?
like no lie, because like I gotta tell you, you have to see that first episode because it really dials the horror up to 11. Like that first episode is so much atmosphere that it like I was like, this is categorically like different from the manga. And they say that like the anime like leans into the fan service. I really didn't feel like it did. I felt like it was about the same, so like
I'm sure
to
it
me, I'm
was. Yeah, I feel like fans of things, like when you read something, it's different than when you watch it. I don't know. They're obviously two different mediums, but just how people digest anime compared to how people digest manga just feels completely different. And those have
I think you might be right about that. I think you're probably 100% right that whenever you see something adapted, because you hear it all the time whenever you talk about movies, right? Whenever like a book is adapted into a movie, people will always be like, "Well, the book was better for reasons," and I'm like, "Well, obviously you're using your imagination, and nothing that you made up in your imagination will ever rival whatever they put on the screen, right? It can only ever be good enough."
I'll say
Uh,
it. Lord of the Rings movies are better than the books.
That is a hot take,
That's all
but
I got.
but it's one that I agree with, and I'll tell you why. Is because the Lord of the Rings is so flowery with its language,
Oh yeah.
to the point where I feel like we're just vibing, right? And I'm like, that'd be fine if this was a fantasy novel about us chilling, but I'm like, I feel like there's a sense of urgency that it takes the narrative a while to catch up with. But that's Lord of the Rings. As far as Mieruko-Chan, the anime dude, like I really do feel like, because here's the thing, and I'm gonna just go ahead and talk about what was probably our favorite little twist in the manga, the
Hmm.
dad.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is, in the anime, in the manga, you learn about the dad. You see the dad in the same chapter that you learn that he's dead. In the anime, the dad's hanging around from episode 1, and it is staged in a way that nobody reacts to whatever he's saying, right? So it's almost like, yeah, the dad's there and he's moving about as if normal, right? So it's just like he talks to people, and like, like the conversations are framed in such a way so that they could technically be talking together. So whenever it comes around to showing you that he's dead, I was like, oh, that hits so much harder. That hits so much harder because this whole time it felt like he was alive. I'm like, it's
Hmm.
insane. And with the monsters in the anime are so much more, oh gosh, like it feels like they have so much more presence, and maybe it's something about them being animated and the grotesque way in which they move and they sound. It's just it really feels like it's elevated. That's not to say that I thought the manga was bad. Once we got to the other thing, the cat episode,
Yeah.
like whenever you see what Miko sees when she sees when the nice guy comes to ask for the cat, hits so much harder. Like the way that this is animated is something that I was like, oh, in case you had any doubts that this guy was just bad news, this left no doubt. But contrastingly, the way that the gangster, like that his spirits are animated, it almost has like an Ave Maria sort of like vibe to it, where it's just like
Yeah.
like the cats, like the glowing cats like materialize on him, and they're like so gentle and so happy, and it's just like this is definitely a manga that benefits from the medium of animation, and I can totally see it. So like the I'm trying to recommend it to you because I know that you're like not really big into fan service, and I'm like, people
So
people say that the fan service is worse, dude. I think it's the same, but I really do think that this is one that's better to watch as the anime.
I would watch it. Most of the time, the reason I don't watch fan servicey animes that are like, as long as they're not over the top, just like hi, a butt shot here or there, whatever, I can usually
Right.
skip past it. But I watch most of my animes with my wife, and
Mm.
she doesn't like that
I see. I see.
at all.
Uh, so yeah.
Occasionally, if it's like as a joke, she'll be fine with it. But if it's like
Mm.
so prevalent, it's happening 2 to 3 times. Like the reason we haven't watched Railgun, even though it's my favorite anime, is because
Mm.
season 1 is so much fan service. Season 2 cuts all of it out, and it's season
Right.
2 is infinitely better than season 1 because of this reason.
I do have to say that it is kind of like a thing with this one that like it's difficult to tell where it stops, but it does eventually stop.
Yeah.
And again, I binged the anime, right? So I got all the way through all 12 episodes, and I can tell you that I'm like, I really hope this gets a second season because it really was good. And I'm probably gonna keep reading the manga because I'm like there, I bet you, like, because manga and anime are different in that there's things that you can like do in a manga that you can't do in an anime, and there's things that the anime can show you better than the manga can.
Hmm.
And I do feel like this one might be one of those scenarios because the guy with the ghost cats comes back,
Does he come back in
and
the manga, or
well, that's what I want to know because like he comes back in the anime for sure, and his story was one that I was like, oh my gosh, I never see this get adapted into anime. Never, never. Like this is never like a story that you see because it deals with familial abuse. Like with like overbearing parents and things like that. And like it's one thing where it's like, oh, you must do good in your studies, this and that. But like his mom was psychotic, dude. This was some real misery stuff. And I
yeah.
was like, wow, this is so good. This is so good. So like my opinions on the manga as I was reading it was like, this is fine. I can kind of appreciate it for what it is, but it's probably not something that I would continue with. And then I watched the anime and I was like, okay, I need to know. Like, because as much, there's a lot of setup that you can kind of see
Hmm.
with the manga as it's going. Like, so for example, Miko can see ghosts. Other people can see ghosts. They talk to a medium who can kind of see
Yep.
faint traces of them. Hana apparently is just radiating aura, and it's kind of like something that's attracting these ghosts.
It's also
So like,
killing them.
it
They,
burns
they
some of them,
they
right?
establish that later on that it can kill someone, but before that, it didn't because she was getting basically like molested by one,
Right, right.
and it was getting
So
worse with the hand sanitizer.
and it's my impression that basically what it is like Hana hadn't like actually woken up to it at up until that point. Like it was there, but it wasn't like all the way turned on. And somehow, like at around the same time that Miko kind of like wakes up to her powers, Hana wakes up to hers a little bit, or that's the impression that I got. There are some scenes that are coming up in the manga if the manga is a one-to-one adaptation that I'm curious to see how they were handled because there is more going on here than meets the eye. So obviously there's spirits, there's people who can see them, there's people who radiate aura. There seems to be gods, but
Okay.
like so for example like there's and this is coming up actually like where the anime is and or where as I watched the anime this was like one episode after we stopped. So there was a they go to a Shinto shrine, right? Because Hana has like a really really bad ghost attached to her, and it's after she saves the dog from the building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so she has like a really really bad ghost attached to her, and Miko is not sure how to get rid of it, how to shake it. So what she kind of does is like, hey, we should go up to the Shinto shrine, like we should like go say some prayers and this and that. And she's doing it basically just grabbing at straws, like what is gonna get this thing away? And what happens is they say their prayers at the Shinto shrine, and this thing doesn't seem to be moving until the gods of the shrine show up. And these are not like, oh, this is majestic. Look at it. It's like either like, as you usually see in other anime, like they're
Hmm.
arrayed in all of this opulent, robes and stuff like that. They seem almost like people, but godly. These are like these gods are scary. And like I don't know what's worse, the ghost or the gods. Oh my god, it's like so terrifying. I'm like, and it's actually like how you mentioned that you didn't laugh.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud
Oh, I'm
when I
I'm
was watching this scene
I'm sure the
because
anime catches the humor better than the manga
it
does.
it I feel like it does. And like it was so weird because like Hana the whole time was like, oh, let me take selfies at the Shinto shrine. Oh yay, like selfies with my bestie, posting them on Instagram. Meanwhile, Miko is watching these gods eat the spirit in the most grotesque way possible, and she is trying not to cry. It is so funny. I was like, this is great. Oh my god. So yeah, like I definitely would suggest I'm like, dude, like try watching it. Like I know that it's like really heavy and on the fan service, but I think this is
I need
actually
to
really
know.
good.
I need to know one scene first.
Uh-huh.
How do they handle the bath scene in the anime? Is
The
it
same
worse?
exact way that they handled it in the manga, honestly. Like they do extend it, but like I think that it was done to good effect because the ghost in the bath is basically the focus of it. It's not like, oh, let me wash your back and, we're going to extend this part of the scene. It's like there is a ghost in the bath and this is terrifying. And like, so the brother comes in and basically Miko's the entire time is just trying to like pretend it isn't there. So it is kind of one of those things. Um, yeah, the brother is just you can't handle the brother well. Like like
You
the
could
way
have
that
made
he
him
was written.
just not.
You could have, but I think
You
that
think the brother's a self-insert for the writer?
oh, I don't even know, dude. Maybe.
Because he started
Like,
drawing. So he started drawing manga when he was in middle school.
oh, okay.
So he was drawing him like basically like this, and I'm like, he made the middle school brother in love with
Hmm.
the sister, who's his MC, like his main character. I'm like, what if it's just him? He just inserted himself into the.
Well, first things first. If that is the case, I can't really judge him because every time I write an insert, the MC who is hot is always in love with me. So I mean,
Well, yeah, but
uh,
you don't have to make him. You don't have to make yourself the brother. You could make yourself the
no,
guy at
no,
school or some other character.
right, right.
I'm looking at the wiki, and there's a scene of him giving his sister like he's holding out an ice cream to her, and she's like has her mouth open going towards it. And I'm like, this is not right.
There's a bunch of different stuff that happens that
I just
it's
can't with
difficult to
brother sister
explain.
stuff. They keep ruining good ideas by bringing in
It
this degeneracy.
it does, and
I have
I
a lot of
hate to.
siblings, and I'm mortified.
And you know, like, not I'm not trying to defend it. I think it's kind of weird too, but like I feel like, how to put this? It feels so bad that something this stupid would make you like go away from something this good. And that's not to say that, you know, like, this is just you. Like, for example, me, there's manga that people swear to me that are good and great, and there are things in it that I'm like, I can't with this personally. So like, there's an anime or a manga called Skeleton Knight in Another World. And much to the same level as Goblin Slayer, it starts off with a very graphic
Yeah,
rape scene.
I've actually read parts of it because someone recommended it to me, and I stopped at that scene too.
Right. So like, there is a certain thing, like, you know, so like, being like, there's things that in manga that I'm like, this is a cultural thing and there's no denying it. And I hate that sometimes it turns you away from something really, really good. Because, like, for example, another one that doesn't shy away from like assault is Berserk. And
Yeah.
it's one of those that I pushed myself through it, and I'm happy I did because it ended up being really, really good. And so, like, the thing is, it's so upsetting whenever you know that something's good, the promise of it is really good, but you kind of have to push yourself through that weirdness first. You know what I
I,
mean?
yeah, but there's other things that do similar tropes that are just as good without the stuff in it. The sorry YouTube and every other streaming service we use without the essay stuff. You don't need that. It doesn't add to the story. You could do it once to make it like, oh wow, look how evil this person is. But Berserk, it happens so often that it's almost like, is this a
It
secret
actually
fetish of the
doesn't, though.
author? Doesn't happen
It
like
actually
five
doesn't, though.
times.
Mm-mm. No, I
There's the
mean,
horse.
it's
There's the main guy. There's the girl in the prison cell.
right. And the thing about this is that it's so far in between that, like, it's not like something that's constantly being bombarded at you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but you don't need to do it this
So,
often. Like, holy crap, dude.
I mean, George R. R.
How
Martin
many?
would like to know your location. I mean,
There's the same reason I don't watch or read Game of Thrones because I feel like
right.
it's
Well,
kind of
and Game of
just
Thrones is particularly bad because it also has the brother sister thing, and they play it like it's totally fine.
yeah. It's like people always defend that by saying, "Oh, what's the time period?" I'm like, it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that. It's not real. It's all made up. There are no such thing as the ice giants or whatever they're called. The ice
I don't even remember.
zombies.
Like, I like Game of Thrones for maybe like the first season. After that, I just kind of
I
lost
watched the whole
interest.
first season and I was like, oh, that's okay. Because I watched it in college and then I never
Yeah,
went back.
yeah, same. It was like, this is fine. I tried to watch the second season. You know what? I think the part that turned me off to it is that whenever the pregnant woman got stabbed in the womb,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's kind of like the things that, like, to me, I'm like, this is where I draw the line. I'm like, you don't hurt kids. You know, like, if a
Oh,
manga
I
or
don't
an
mind.
anime like kills a kid, I'm like, no.
I
You
don't
know,
mind
like,
children dying. I don't like pets dying, though. Don't clip that.
oh yes, I don't mind children.
It's stories. It's stories.
No, right, but like, I don't know, man. There's something about like harming an innocent, you know, that like really, to me, just like, it that really like works up my, like, I would never, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Well,
So
okay, so
it's
babies off the list. Children 10 and up, whatever, man.
uh like, there's something to be said about it happening within good context, you know.
Yeah,
Because
context
like,
is
so
key.
yeah, context would be key. So like, you know, there's a lot of Gundam series where a kid gets blown up, right? But that's a war, you know. And it's in Gundam, it very rarely gets played as like, oh man, action cool. It usually gets played as like, war is ugly. And I can get that, you know. I'm like, okay, so this kid dies, but war is ugly. So within the context, like, this is something that I can totally stomach.
Yeah,
But
at
like,
the start of Mass Effect 3, there's a kid who Shepard saves, And he just said, "Hey,
Hmm.
get on one of the escape pods, and you'll be fine." And he gets the kid to the escape pod, and he goes away, and then his escape pod's shot down right in front of him.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for
that's
sure.
like
And
that strikes Shepard's resolve, and it also gives him his recurring nightmares about it throughout the rest of this. It's Mass Effect is so good.
Mass Effect is good. Yes, I agree. But yeah, so like that's kind of the thing is like contextually, and to bring it back to Mieruko-Chan, is like, is there a contextual position that you could put the brother weirdness to where it wouldn't feel weird? I don't think
No,
there is.
I just that's just Japan being weird like this all the time. Like why?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna do a study on why Japan thinks awkwardly, just kind of like degenerate sexual things are interesting. Is it because they're taboo? Is that it? Is that literally just it?
It's got to be because it's taboo. I mean,
Because
like
the
when
sister
you
thing
really
comes
think
up way
about
too
it,
often.
it does. And my guess is that there must be some title somewhere that like was wildly popular and it had something like that, and then the rest of like the generation that
Just
grew up
started
watching
copying
it
it.
just started doing that. Yeah, it's
There
my take
probably
on it.
is. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
probably a Reddit thread somewhere where someone's trying to not just explain it, but also justify it because I've never seen anyone cope so hard as a manga or anime fan trying to get you to watch their thing. So,
Right. I
like
mean,
every time I
I
talk to a One
understand.
Piece fan or I talk to
Oh,
somebody
thank you.
or a Berserk fan, I have to hear similar comments. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine, and then I just go about my day because at the end of the day, it's if I'm not gonna read, it, I'm not gonna read it
Right.
or watch it
So
until it ends.
so ultimately, as far as Mieruko-Chan goes, I think that there's a lot of world lore, and I love the way that the manga and the anime both do this, where they don't give you answers. You know, it's like there's a lot of things that happen later on that just raise more questions, and it's almost like the show is gearing up, and it's slow to get there because it starts off so slice of life,
Hmm.
but it's gearing up to be like, I don't know if you ever saw the Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer Love
I
Hewitt.
have seen Ghost Whisper, yes.
Yeah, it feels like it's gearing up to be exactly that, where Miko comes to the realization that she has this gift and that she's the only one that can help these things pass on.
So Ghost
So like,
Whisper with the same amount of fan service. Got it.
did Ghost Whisperer have a lot of fans? I mean, I remember
You
that
seen Jennifer
Jennifer
Love
Love Hewitt.
Hewitt?
She is bae. Okay, so like, yeah, her being on screen is instantly fan service. Okay,
They start putting her in tighter clothes as she
I noticed.
matures. I should
I
say
noticed.
it's like Buffy has
Matures is a nice way to put it.
Buffy has a similar problem, except for it gets away with it later and just starts showing
Right.
hot dudes all the time.
For
Supposedly,
sure, for
I'm
sure.
not attracted to
Yeah.
anyone. I don't know. Spike's
but
got a thing though.
But I feel like that's where Mieruko-Chan is going, and there's a mystery surrounding Hana, that also. So I mean, I'm like, I really like what this show is doing, and the sense of I think that this is probably like the best thing that I enjoyed from it, and I appreciated it more in the manga after I saw the anime, but the sense of helplessness that comes with knowing that there's something wrong and only you can see it. Like
Hmm.
it's something that like after I saw the anime, because the anime framed it way differently, but I went back and I read the manga again, and I was like, no, it's there. It's just like it's like I said, like the chapters feel like they fly by so fast that you almost don't feel it
They're very
until you
short.
actually, yeah, until you actually stop and kind of like ruminate in it, kind of like simmer. So I don't know if ruminate is the right word. I don't know even know what that
Ruminate.
word is, but
It's
I've
where it
heard
kind
it
of like
used.
sits in something and kind of like absorbs the essence of the thing it's sitting in.
Okay, perfect. I wasn't sure if that's what it was. I've just heard it used in the same context, so I was like, let me
That's
see.
how I use most words, and I've been corrected several times.
Right. So I really do feel like whenever you have time to kind of like soak at it, you do kind of get that vibe from the manga. It's just not something that hit me right away, and I'm very happy that the anime actually helped to elevate the source material, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So yeah, who's your favorite character?
I mean, right now there's only three. The mom was barely there. I guess Miko because she's generally the character I would like most in the anime, and it's generally the black haired girl or pink haired
Mhm.
girl. Those are the two I always gravitate towards.
Right.
I like them to be more less anime bodied type, like more of like an actual normal body type.
Right.
Because it's like I'm a teenage girl, and look at me. Two melons have grown on my
Mhm.
chest for some reason, but nowhere else.
So you didn't like Hana, is what I'm
No, I
hearing?
love Hana. I hated her. I hated the
No,
body
dude.
type thing.
Here's the thing, and I hate to keep bringing up the anime because we were supposed to be reading the manga, right? But like the thing is and I don't know if this is just because Alexis Tipton plays Miko, and if you don't know who Alexis Tipton
I
is,
do. She plays
she's Kaguya.
Lucina.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
plays Lucina, and she's also
In
Kaguya and Kaguya-sama, right?
yeah, yeah.
And for a second there, I swore that the girl who played Hana was Chika's voice actress. I looked it up later, and that's not the case. But I was like, because Hana is that type of character, so like like she's bubbly and excited, and I was just like, this is just Kaguya and Chika all over again. It's just a different
It,
context.
it it is always the same dynamic they always do too.
Mhm.
The quote unquote flat chested girl is always like the more serious character, or the tsundere character, whereas the
Mhm.
girl with big boobs is always like the bubbly and happy and popular and happy to go through life doing whatever they want to do kind of character.
Is it that case in Code Geass? Because Code Geass has a specifically one body type. And,
They have two. They
oh,
have
do they?
three if you count Colin as her own body type.
I love how this started off as like we're gonna discuss this horror comedy, and now we're just like anime body proportions and what they say about your character.
To be fair, in the 2010s, a lot of anime had and manga had this problem where every character was super lanky for some reason.
I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
that's what Code
Bleach
Geass
or
is. Yeah,
Code
yeah, or like
Geass.
Bleach.
What was the other one that was really Death Note? They're just like lanky characters.
Mm-hmm.
Death Note did the
Yeah,
best, I think, of the style.
right.
Bleach, man, could have been good.
Bleach. I hear great things about the Blood War,
Yeah,
but
the
like,
anime. Yeah, I heard they're fixing a ton of the problems, but I think people are just looking back at it and being like, actually, it didn't suck as much as I thought it did.
mhm. Yeah.
They apparently fixed the ending where the final fight's off screen because he just had to end it real quick, so that's
Mm-hmm.
nice. I Let me see what else is there to say about Mieruko-Chan. It's weird because it's such a short one that the
Well,
recording's not even gonna make.
we
Yeah,
only read the first 10 chapters because that's kind of what we wanted to do, right? We wanted to
yeah.
kind of like give our impressions of what this manga is kind of like, and then we, depending on how we felt about it, we could vote on whether or not we would continue it,
Oh, okay.
and do
Is
a
that what we're
do
doing?
an up. Yeah, and we're gonna vote and see if we would do an upcoming episode just to kind of like say, does the next volume kind of change our minds,
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Is
So,
there a scene that really sticks out with you with one of the monsters in the manga
uh,
only, not the anime?
right. With the monsters only, I have to within the manga. Let me think. Did this monster kind of? There's two actually. So there is the scene where they have to go through the dark alley and it's just full of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one in particular who the moment that she walks through him, she realizes, oh, nothing happens, but now he's following me.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they whenever they go to the medium, like their bracelets keep popping because of all of the spiritual energy happening. And so whenever the medium gives him the special one, like this is the one that I've been pouring my energy into for decades. Yes. And so she puts it on and it pops exactly just like the other ones.
That was the
Uh
one scene that made me laugh, actually.
it
Like
it
I
was a
could,
really good scene.
it's because it's the third one, and it was like the special one. Actually, there was also the scene where she goes back to her kids finally. She's like, "I'm a new
uh
woman." That made me laugh too.
spoiler alert, that's not the last we see of her.
Oh, I
But
figured.
But there's also like the other scene was whenever Hana goes into the decrepit building to save the dog,
Mhm.
and then that big spirit attaches to her because that big spirit does something really weird. He realizes that Hana has this energy around her, and so he's grabbing the little spirits and holding them up to her energy to cook them, and then eats them. And
Oh,
I
is that
was
what he's
like,
doing? I thought they were just disintegrating.
no. So they basically get burned by her energy. So he's holding them up to her so that they cook. And after that, he just kind of like a snack. And I was like, okay, so this raises so many questions about the nature of these spirits. Do they must eat each other because it's not the first time that we've seen one eat another. There was when Miko was waiting in line for the donuts,
Hmm.
and the spirits were
That
lined
was the
up
scene I was
for.
going to talk about. Yeah, that's my favorite scene. Just watching them get devoured by this thing. I'm like, why are they lining up for it though?
Yeah.
Was it just
And
something
there
he did? Like he just like it would be a cool scene, and then just
mhm.
drew it? Because sometimes that's just what you do. You just want to draw something, so you do, and you're like, I don't care how it fits into the world.
And there is something to be said about Japanese horror compared to Western, right? In that
Mm-hmm.
Western, we almost have like horror is a thing that's happening, and you have some manner of agency. Typically, somebody will know something about it, and you'll fight against it, even if you don't win. And typically, the horror happens because of injustice or because of or because somebody deserves it. A lot of the times, people have to fight against horror in order to come to terms with their own demons. But in Japanese horror, it almost feels like it happens for no reason. You know, like it's something that's happening, and it's almost like it's a different extension of the natural world. So it's occurring around you all the time. You may not see it, and a lot of the times it won't even affect you until you happen to cross its path in the wrong time, you know, or at the right place at the wrong time or whatever. So now it's just you're just a victim of it, and it feels almost like that's exactly what Miko's going through, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I'm reading it, I don't get the impression like that her family has anything like that would have led into this, right? Like her parents seem totally normal. You know, like it doesn't seem like one of them was an ancient witch from something or other, and we don't know anything about her extended family, so it's kind of hard to tell.
My
but yeah, mhm.
my theory, a theory I was coming working on while I was reading it, when the dad showed up and I figured out he like dead, I
Mhm.
thought, oh, maybe she witnessed it and that's why she can see ghosts now.
Oh yeah, like almost like a Harry Potter. You can see thestrals if you have
Yeah, yeah. If you've
experienced death. Yeah,
experienced
yeah,
death before, I mean, I didn't go off of that theory. There's another series that did something similar where she could only see death because she'd experienced it. I can't remember
right.
what that's called. Crap,
Hmm.
doesn't matter. That was the idea I was going with, and I thought, oh, that's a cool idea. I wonder if they're going to continue that. And then obviously, I haven't read far enough to know if it's going to do that or change or. But I was really
Right,
hoping the
right.
mom would be like, I can see them too, but I'm not. I have to pretend as well, and she doesn't know that
Oh,
she doesn't know that her daughter can see them as well. So they're both pretending they can't see them. The son can't see it because it only runs in the women in the family, and they have yellow eyes for a reason.
that would be an interesting twist, and I think I would be totally on board with it. But yeah, so like as far as uh, scenes that stuck out with me, those were the one. Oh wait, actually no, I'm wrong because the scene that really like really took my breath away, and it's something that kind of like came back when I watched the anime was the cat giving away the cat and choosing who you
Oh
were
yeah,
gonna give it
yeah,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that scene a lot. I didn't want to bring that one up because I already saw, or we already talked about it. But also, since you've seen the anime, who's the woman that appears as a ghostly form behind him when he adopts a new cat? Is that his mom?
Yeah.
Oh, why is his mom there as a ghost? She's still tormenting him?
So do you care spoilers at all?
Nah, go for it.
Okay, he's the basically the big bad of the first season.
He is. He's
And
a bad guy.
he's quote unquote the bad guy, right? He's not really the bad guy.
Oh,
What happened is his mom was a very strict, very domineering woman, and he was a lonely kid. And
always.
it kind of looks like what happened was that his dad kind of ran out on them, and as a result, she kind of had like all of this resentment toward him. But at the same time, you know, she kind of like painted it as I'm I'm your protector. I'm the only thing you need, so on and so forth. So the kid couldn't have friends over because his mom was like just really like aggressive towards him, almost like
Mm-hmm.
spiteful to anyone who would spend time with his son, right? So eventually he finds company in a cat that he finds, and he loves the cat. And the mom, angry, you know, like no, we're not having this, kills the cat. So
Wow.
the spirits that are hanging around him aren't like cats that he killed. They're pets that you know he kept trying to have, you know, just to have some manner of connection that his mom would kill.
I
And
figured he was good-hearted, and that's why the cats were hanging around him. What about the other guy? Do they expand on him at all?
not in the anime, no, but I hear that in the manga, this is not the last time that we see him. Because
Yeah.
I had questions about that, so I went
What
looking,
about?
and yeah, everyone's.
Do you remember the scene where the she accidentally makes eye contact with the guy? He's like, "Oh, she's into me," and then it turns out
Oh,
that both the guy and the girl are cheating on each other, and they're both being chased by demons.
they don't elaborate on that, but like that was probably one of the funniest scenes inside of the anime, and I'll tell you what, because like the voiceover work that went into this was sublime. Like, it was so good. Like the ghost that is the girlfriend, the
Hmm.
ex-girlfriend or whatever, is
Did he
just
kill her? Hold on a second. I didn't even
I,
think about
I
that
don't know,
prospect.
like, because like here's the thing, I'm almost beginning to think that these aren't spirits of people, or but
No.
like almost like bad vibes that you
Yeah,
accumulate,
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like instead of him killing all those cats, he was just a bad person, and maybe he was like bad to cats or bad to people. And so,
Right, right,
so
right.
cat like the monstrous demons were like near him, and the demon that was protecting the cat was also like, "Hey, don't choose this guy." It was like getting right up in his face about it.
Right, right. And I honestly think that, like some of them are spirits of things. Like
Mm-hmm.
say people or animals or things, but other ones are more like abstract ideas of evils that have either happened to you or evils that you did. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
pretty
that
traditional with
as
yokai, right?
right. So I think that as far as the couple goes, like I think that the spirits hanging around them were more like abstract ideas of relationships that they personally soured on purpose or that they were malicious in, so now they have this bad aura hanging around them.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the cats, I think that the way that it was framed in the anime, I think those are real cats. And with the gangster guy, whenever he takes the cat home and he's kind of like coming up with a name to give him, you can see there's pictures on his mantle that are his dead wife and both of the cats that they own together. So I think that those are actual cats.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're also light spirits. I don't
Hmm.
know what the difference between the spirits is in this series yet. Because some look like
Uh,
normal people or things, and then some are
mm.
abstract monstrosities.
And as far as I can see, those are the only light ones that we've seen. Like, because
Yeah.
even in the anime, like the wife and the cats were the only ones that I was like, oh, these are clearly benevolent spirits. Like everything else looks so scary. But yeah, like those are the scenes that stuck out to me. How about you?
Yeah. The one where the demons eating is one that I kind of like just the visual of. I thought
Hmm.
was cool because she was in line for it. So
Yeah,
would it have eaten her? I want to know because so far she could just walk through them.
right.
They have no effect on her. So I mean, I get why like seeing that would be terrifying, but knowing that it can't touch you in any way, don't know if it can.
Mm.
Maybe it can later on. But for now, knowing they can't touch you at all would kind of take away the horror aspect for me. I'd be like, okay, this
Right,
is nuisance and gross, but like you can't hurt me. I'd get bored
right.
of it eventually. Be like, oh man, another one's in my sink, I guess. Haha.
Yeah. And
But
there's something that I have questions on because like there's a lot of those spirits that almost feel like Jujutsu Kaisen curses where they're like an aura of something that's just kind of sticking around and just going through the motions, right? So like there
mm-hmm.
was a there was a chapter where she's trying to buy something at the combini, and there's a ghost standing next to the cashier who is just repeating cashier things. Like it'll be that much, please. It'll be that much, please. And
Yeah.
there's that ghost in the bus that is talking as three teenage girls just like gabbing back and forth, right? So it's like this feels like these aren't so much like almost like human residual energy, but like somehow twisted. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Mm.
I feel like there's more here. But it also could just be that the author doesn't quite know what they're doing with the story yet and just thought it would be fun to post these ideas because this is the early chapters.
That's for sure. Yeah,
And
that's
so
true. And
they were just posting things and now they're like, "Oh crap, I have a story now. This is serialized. What do I do?"
and it's 11 volumes too, so I mean it's going on for some time.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like you
so
can just make it up as you go along and it'll be fine.
well, in Japan you kind of have to, like,
Yeah,
because that.
that was the idea I had for our series. Is we would just write a chapter each week, and then we'd go through it and be like, "Does this sound good? Cool." And then we'd do the recording.
Yeah, you know what? I'm down for it. It could be fun. I guess ultimately, I want to ask your opinions, Mieruko-Chan. From what you've read, would you read more? Yes? No?
Yeah, I'd read it. I'd read way more. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't like again the fan service and the brother are two things that I'm so fed up with and done with anime, but it didn't detract enough. And unless it gets worse, I could actually still go through with it. I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. Okay,
Just no
that's
more the
fair.
brother. He doesn't have a personality yet. I don't care about him.
Like the brother has made a bad impression, and I honestly, if they write him out of the story, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, the one scene I was like, I must protect my sister because we find out she has a boyfriend. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That makes sense. Then I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
like
not.
that's why
Then I realized quickly that's not what's happening. That's
I love.
I can't trust anime anymore with sibling relationships. I just can't.
You're almost tentatively like holding your breath whenever like there's a brother sister duo until you know whether or not the author gets
Basically,
weird with it.
yeah. It's like when I was playing Fates and I'm like, oh, cool. I have a bunch of siblings like that. I can relate to that. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, no, we have siblings. I'm out.
We have Camilla's kind of hard, isn't she? Like,
She kind of, yeah. Camilla has also like ruled the internet for a minute because the internet's gross too.
right.
Uh,
So I'm happy to hear that is something that you would read again because like me personally, at first I was gonna say no. I honestly thought that we were gonna disagree because I thought the fan service would be too much for you. But
it is a bit
I
much.
I
But
also think that this is one that I would read more. So like now we have two votes in favor. Gamma will be the
Gamma's gonna say
will
yes.
Gamma's gonna be another vote, I guess. So
Yeah, don't tell him
let
we
me.
said. So
I'm gonna edit his response here in the following second. So, hey Gamma, what did you think of Mieruko-Chan?
Oh, I love the manga.
Well, that is an opinion Gamma had, everybody.
wow, thanks, Gamma. That's crazy. You'd say that though.
I know.
Are you sure you're allowed
like,
to say that on
gosh,
television?
goodness, Gamma, like the language, my man. This is a family show. Not really. This I don't think this would qualify for a family show at all.
It could have at one point, but now it can't.
No, it can't. Like the
We talked about the R word and excessive panty shots.
I'm gonna bleep the R word out. Trust me. So like
Okay, cool.
yeah. This
What's your top 3 least liked animes with brother sister relationships? I'll start.
well,
Sword Art Online. Hated it. Let's see. Not an anime. Fire Emblem Fates absolutely ruined the story. The story was sucked anyways, but it got worse. And then you could pet them if it's the Japanese version. Awful. One more. Unicorn Overlord. The most popular romanceable option is the cousin in Japan.
but yeah, so that's Mieruko-Chan. I'm actually glad to see that the first review that we did this year is one that we agree on. That's so rare.
It is very rare, yeah.
So it's really exciting, and I honestly do think that a lot of this has to do with like the fact that regardless of like the weird fan service or like the brother and sister thing, the events taking place in the manga are genuinely interesting. And it's not a manga that gives you all the answers right away. So like for example, Ichigo can see ghosts and immediately he finds out that there's another world of soul reapers, so on and so forth, and then he becomes a part of it. Miko by and large is still just in high school trying to get through her day while this stuff is going on around her. So I think that it hits in a place that most anime do not do, which is whatever this world is, we're not dragging our character into it immediately. We're going to let them go through their life. We're going to let them have questions. And if we answer them later, we answer them later. But until then, the mystery is spicy. And I dig it.
Do we think they're gonna add another a male main character into the story at all, or no?
There is a third female main character that's coming right up.
I see her right there, but I didn't know if they're gonna add. I guess no, because he's not on here.
Probably not. As far as I know, I don't know. I've only read the first volume of the manga, so who knows? In the anime, the way that the ending was written, I'm like, theoretically, this guy with the cats could come back. I don't see why not. So yeah,
Well, he's not gonna be like a main character of the cast, probably.
probably not, but like probably a supporting character. Like, cause the way that the resolution happens is vague enough to where I'm like, this guy probably doesn't suspect that there's anything supernatural going on whatsoever. But like, I don't know. But yeah, like I think that it's fun that we agreed on the first one. It's fun that we agreed on our first listener submitted one. That's exciting.
Right.
And so yeah, like finally we've gotten around to it. We've done it. And so listeners in the audience, if you want to submit your anime of choosing to us so that we can read it, we can review it, tell you our story about it, tell you our opinion about it, and tell you whether or not the brother sister thing is hot. I mean, just leave it in the comments.
I'm going with not, but That's fine.
I'm also going with not. Please don't do that. Please suggest literally anything else.
We're gonna watch only manga, or we're gonna read only manga that has this relationship, and we're gonna rate them.
I know. Now I've cursed our. Now I've cursed us
Top
with it.
10 best anime with brother-sister relationships, and it's like
No.
all of these suck.
I guess Tenchi Muyo was fine.
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah, because Ayeka was technically related to him, right? Like, I don't think that she was his
Yeah.
sister, but I think she was like, what, his cousin or something?
Yeah, that's what they always do. They're like, you know what's better? They're not related, but they're basically related. You know,
Yeah.
first
yeah.
cousins.
First cousins or
That's
something.
what they did in Sword Art Online. They're like, oh, we're not actually related, so it's okay. It's like his mom and your mom are sisters.
Right.
That's closer than that's the closest first cousins you can be.
Right.
I mean, they don't. Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say before we close up, just kind of like a weird little tangent. Are you watching any other anime or reading any other anime at the moment?
I was watching something, but I can't remember what it's called right now. It's got a really long name, and we're also watching Yona the Dawn because my wife loves it.
No, we also have to watch Psycho-Pass because that's the one that we're gonna record later in the month.
Psycho-Pass, and we're also doing the February recording of the Seventh Time Loop. My wife and I watched some of that. Like we watched some of a fan dub online 'cause someone was doing one. It looks like it's gonna be all right. It's a love story. It's nothing insane. It's for very, very generic love story.
Okay. Well, the reason I brought it up is because, like, not only have I been watching Psycho-Pass, which I have opinions on, and I'll save those for our recording, but also, like, my wife made me start watching the Ranma 1/2 reboot.
Oh, I heard that was actually pretty good.
It is. And, dude, like, I gotta tell you, like, this is, like, candy for the eyes, like, because the animation is so bright and colorful. It definitely leaves an impression, like, and the thing is, I remember watching the original Ranma 1/2 whenever it came out back in the 90s, and
Definitely
I thought, yeah, and back then I thought it was okay, like, but this one I'm like, I like this one better, and I don't know what it is. It's probably the fact that the animation has taken like a severe step up, but like, I don't know, I like it.
Creator of Inuyasha.
It is, yeah. Rumiko Takahashi. She actually has like a long resume of manga.
She does, yeah. I liked Inuyasha. I did not care for the ending so much, but it was all right.
Would you have liked Inuyasha better if Kagome and Inuyasha were related?
I'm not going to say I would like it better, but I'm going to say that I already didn't care too much for Kagome and Inuyasha's relationship.
Hot take, and like, look, you're gonna disagree, but I think their relationship is healthier than Sakura and Sasuke.
I mean, it's not that it's not healthy. I think it's fine. I don't think any relationships in any of the anime I've watched have been quote unquote healthy because they're based in fantasy worlds where crazy stuff has to keep happening or else it'll be too boring.
Right. We're trauma bonding, which makes for a healthy relationship for a little while.
Yeah, I still want to know why Sasuke decided Sakura was the one he liked when every girl in the village was after him.
Yeah.
So what are we rating it then? What, are we doing it out of 10 or what?
Oh, Mieruko-Chan?
Yeah.
For the opening, I mean, it's hard for me to... okay, let me try to rate the manga individually of the anime, because I thought the anime was a 10. But let's see. If I'm rating the manga, it's slow to start, but it kind of carries the same weight. It has a lot of the same mystery. I like the characters. The little brother's still kind of weird. I honestly would put it probably closer to a 7.
I was also going 7, so that's crazy.
Yeah. God, dude, we are so in tune today.
You
want to write a story today? You want to write like literally today?
Yeah. Send me an idea. I'll get you. I'm already writing a story for the video game I'm making. I'll do 2 things today. I'll also have to edit today. Ugh.
How about you, Gamma? What do you think?
I've seen the anime, and the anime was amazing, and I'm quite hyped that the manga itself was just as good. So absolutely, I'll read past chapter 10.
Well, that's a number that Gamma said.
Gamma, that's crazy. Why would you say those things?
Always have a new pair of underwear, best poker face you can muster, and you'll be fine.
Wow, Gamma, why would you say that? We were friends.
Like, watch him say something like just really nice. Like, Bard and Sakura are really nice guys. Like, Gamma, how could you?
How could you, Gamma? You know I like being antagonized.
But anyway, until next time, I have been the Midnight Bard, and this has been Sacro.
Yes'm.
Yes'm. And remember to follow us on our socials. We're at the Battle Face everywhere. Adios!
Bye, everybody.